on the schedule today. We have this one homework assignment due tonight, and then we have that sort of follow-up to the discussion one post that you hopefully did last night. That's due on Monday, so don't forget about that either. Okay. Where did we leave off in the workbook? So in the workbook, last time we introduced part 8, which had to do with this compound annual growth rate, or just CAGR. And we had a couple different questions in this part of the workbook that can essentially be broken down into 3 different types. We had questions where we were solving for this compound annual growth rate. And in that case, we use this formula here, where we need to know 2 adjusted close values on these 2 dates. And we want to know how many years are in between these 2 dates. That actually requires another new formula that we talked about last time. When you're computing years, you can actually just subtract these dates. That'll work fine. And then we convert it to years by using our conversion. Then there's another type of question where instead of solving for the CAGR, we're using the CAGR to project the adjusted close some point into the future. And so we take one of these 2 dates up here at the top. Doesn't matter which. I use the 2008 date. And we need these values here. We need some adjusted close to start from. So that's my 51.28 in 2008 that I'm starting at. We need the CAGR, and that's, again, from before. So I'm going to grow by 50% each year. And then we need to know how many years we're going to grow this 51 number by. In this case, it's 5.99 some odd years. And if we plug it into our second formula, we get sort of this projected adjusted close. It's not the actual adjusted close on that date. Like this date has already passed. I can go look it up. This is like our guess of what it would have been if it continued to grow at this rate. Likewise, for the next question, we can just change this date here and get the projected value for that date, but that's the only difference between those 2 questions. Then there was one more type of question that had us create this graph. And so in order to create this graph, we need 2 lines. We have the blue line, which, whoops, the blue line is just these 2 guys over here. We have all the dates, all 5,000 of them. We have all the adjusted closes, all 5,000 of them. And we just throw those on a scatter plot. Then we need to create this orange line by essentially doing this for a bunch of other dates. And in this particular question, they wanted us to make a graph from the end of 2008 to the end of 2018. So I just made up these dates here just because it follows a nice pattern. And then, just like we did in the previous question, I picked some starting date and starting adjusted close to start from for all my projected adjusted close values. And I do this exact same formula that I did in questions 3 and 4 right there. I just do it 10 times. I make it draggable. And then we add these 2 lines onto a single picture, and we're done. Now, just a quick reminder of how that works. You select, one of these lines first. We make a connected scatter plot. Looks like that. Once we have one line on, we go up to select data, hit this little add button or the plus symbol if you're on a Mac. Our X's are these dates. The Y's are these values. There's our 2 lines. Now we just zoom in by saying, oh, this actually should start around 12/31/8, and there we go. So there's our graph. I know that was a super fast version of those steps, but remember we wrote them all down last time, so you could either rewatch today's lecture or check out the notes from last time. Then the only other question has us do the exact same thing, just with a wider date range, all the way back to 97 to the end of 2019. But all these steps are identical to this graph over here. And that sort of concludes all the questions in part 8. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention very briefly, it's not super important, you certainly don't have to do this, but as I've been helping people this week, I've notice, this is probably the largest spreadsheet we've made so far. And so it's getting a little cluttered. And, when the test rolls around, it can be hard to find what part of your spreadsheet to use as you're going through, pages and pages of work. So just as a suggestion, if you're, done with everything today, what you might want to do is, instead of having all these different pages of stuff all over the place, you create like a homework tab where you just put every single calculator you've used to solve the homework questions just all in one spot. And this answers all the homework, these particular ones answer all the homework questions other than the graphing ones. But remember, the test questions that we see, the vast majority of them come right off the homework questions. And so, we got these part 1 guys up here. We got this nice part 4 calculator that you can actually use in part 1 and in part 6. I got a bunch of lookups for all those columns we made. We got some criteria for the COUNTIFs we do. Got the January and July stuff for part 7. And then finally, 2 little guys for part 8. So it's just a nice little concise collection of calculators. Just makes it easier for me to find something. If I know, oh, that's just one of those homework questions, I could go to this tab and find it quicker.